Hey yo, welcome back to the Beyond Extend podcast. It's been a while, right? We're on this new schedule where we're only releasing an episode every 2 weeks now, so we're powering through. It's a bit of an adjustment on our side as well, but as always, this is me, Timothy, and on the other side we have the magnificent William.
Oh, magnificent, yeah? Hello.
How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been getting back into my personal project, which has been very, very fun.
Hell yeah!
Um, I've
Which
been
we
really,
still
really.
haven't shown off to all the people, by the way.
No, it's secret. I mean, it's really not, but you have to keep the mystery alive.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, yeah, it's. I've been really inspired, and I've been working on it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I don't force myself to do like work every day.
Hmm.
But yeah, the last couple of days I've worked on it every day for uh yeah, for a long time. Sometimes a little bit too long, so that I was very, very uh um, tired.
Tired the next day.
Tired the next day. But I mean that's just makes me feel even more like I'm back in the good old days, when that was
Oh
my
yeah.
my usual schedule. I remember I there was one night where I worked on my Winchester. It was a Saturday night, and I was working on my Winchester at 8 in the morning.
Oh Jesus.
'Cause
I
it was
look.
I don't know I don't know how that even happens, to be honest. Like it, but
I
it
do
just
know.
did.
It's just because you're having fun, right? And you're not limited by all the technical hurdles anymore. It's just
Yeah,
you're just having
actually, I know
fun with
exactly how
working.
it happened. It was like, oh, I mean, yeah, now I've got the low poly done. I might as well do the UVs and do a test bake. And then I did the test bake, and I was like, well, actually, I've got the test bake done. I see all these baking errors. I might as well just fix these and get the bake done. And then I spent like 3 hours doing because I would, I would re-import my 21 million triangle high poly mesh, and then bake it again in 8K,
Oh
and then
jeez.
realized that I forgot another baking. And then I would rebake it again, and it would take so much time to bake it and so much time to re-import it. It was not the best. Yeah, like it was the best visual quality that I could have gotten, but I
Yeah.
also could have test baked it once with a Dynamesh thing and then seen if there's any errors and then fixed all of them at once. But you live and you learn.
Yeah, exactly. I do love those kind of moments though. Thinking back at university, just when you don't even realize that the sun is rising again.
It's yeah,
Ah,
it's
and
crazy.
then
It's because yeah,
and
it's sometimes you're in that mode, right? In that zone where you're just like, there's nothing I would rather do than work on this cool project that I've got, and it's a good feeling.
I love it, man. I love it. It's been I've been rediscovering like a small scene. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast yet, but I basically put my really big scene on the back burner because I wasn't getting like creative fulfillment out of it anymore.
Yeah,
And it's something I still really want to pick up at some point, right? But
of
I
course.
thought for now I just wanna do like a smaller scene and just get the creative juices flowing again. And
Yeah.
it's been lovely. Like I've been listening to some I don't know, some weird background mixes of like, um, what is it, like rainy night in a coffee shop or whatever, some kind of
Oh.
mixes like that. And just before I even realized, like I've listened to the 4 hours that the mix is going, and it's just like, oh
Yeah.
damn, okay, that went quick. And
Yeah.
it's been a long while since I had that feeling.
Yeah. It's been. I've for long I had the problem. I had this vending machine that I needed to finish, and it was so much stuff, and I finally got over that hurdle. And then I rediscovered like, oh, I can do all of this stuff now. And I was like, I had like a bush in my scene that was just kind of a placeholder because what I did is I made some particles like leaves that are floating through the air,
Uh huh.
and I took that texture sheet and I made a bush out of them, which means um, every leaf was like a single leaf,
Oh,
and it had like 30K tries. So I just put it in there because it's like, yeah, I need a bush there, just put it there for now.
yeah, yeah.
And but yeah, I did like a new texture set that has like the leaves with with the twigs on it, and it works way better, and it looks so much nicer, and it has 3,000 polys instead of like 30K. Um, and yeah, I made a really cool material. I found out how to make like a milky glass material, and I made like a really cool. It's been really fun. It's just been. That's what I really like about the scene that I'm doing, is that I'm doing the stuff I like, but I'm doing a lot of stuff that I've never done before, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really challenging. But it's so interesting when you get into something new that you've never done before, and you're like, "Whoa, I can do it like this."
Oh yeah. So, what are you presenting it in?
Unreal.
Unreal.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Unreal
cool.
all the
You need
way,
to, you need to
baby.
show me the milky glass thingy because
Yeah, yeah, I will, man.
I did some shaders for my own scene. Well, the last one that's on the back burner now, and man, I do love me some good glass shaders. Like
Yeah,
especially when you start adding like the fog or like the milky the milky look to it. Like if you want to
yeah.
call it like that, like it's
I've
so good.
yeah, I have another scene, a really old one lying around somewhere that I also want to finish at some point. It's like a sci-fi interior scene, and
Yeah.
that's why I got bored of it, because it's so, it's so clean and everything. That's what I didn't like about it.
Hmm.
Um, but it was, I think it has a lot of potential, and I had like a really cool shader for the space, because there's a window that you can look out of, and there's like a planet that has like a panning texture, and then there's clouds over the planet that have parallax, and they're also panning
Oh
over it. It was
damn.
really nice. And there's a bathroom in the spaceship or whatever, and it has like a shower that has like a glass shader that still has all the like the little water droplets on it.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't know what the best way to do it was. I found a way that looks really cool, with like a Fresnel thing. It looks really nice, but
Yep.
I just remember turning on the shader. What is it? Shader complexity, and it was just pure white.
Yeah.
Like, oops.
Oh, but
Yeah,
it's fine.
dude, I've long stopped caring about like not performance, but like perfect optimization in person projects.
Yeah, as
Like,
long
I'd
as the
rather
scene still remains workable, then it's good.
Yes, yeah. Like, I'd rather have that extra little silhouette, or that really nice shader. Like, what am I? I'm already limited at work with performance stuff, so why do it at home? If you're not applying for something, because then you kind of need to show that you're able to optimize. Because otherwise, people, like, if I didn't have a job and people looked at that scene, they would be like, "What are you doing? Have you never like? Do you not know how to optimize for a video game?"
Yeah, yeah.
But because I've also, I've got stuff from games in my portfolio, I hope at least that people don't think I'm an idiot. So
Uh, well,
yeah, I
we
mean,
can hope,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's there's a chance.
But yeah, I think that's a good point as well. It's I think a lot of people get dragged down by all the technical stuff. And I think if you have the opportunity to just explain it, right? Because in your case, if someone were to offer you like an interview or whatever, and you go to the interview and they ask like, "Look, what the hell are you doing with this shower shader?" And then you explain like, "Oh yeah, but I did it because I don't want to be bothered by technical limitations on my personal work. But if I were to be limited, I would do it like this and that and that." And
Exactly.
you can probably explain it where it makes sense again.
And it's not, because sometimes I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm just being lazy, but I don't think that's it either. I think you have like a certain point of quality where you can then, there's two ways you can go. You can either put time into making it look pretty good while being performant, or you can put time into making it look amazing but then not caring about performance,
Yeah.
because both of it takes time, right? But so then now, instead of trying to get the shader, what is it, the shader instructions down and like the textures used, I could think of like, oh, what if I add another vertex paint on top of here, and then I could separate these two materials, make this one a decal, so I can make it separate and have a tint and whatever, do this and that, and
Hmm.
then I'll be able to blend it. Like, I have my road has, it's it's like 4 layers of decal geometry. It's horrible, but it looks cool. It looks really good. And I
Yeah.
made like a shader that has like, it uses like the UV channel below it to get some alpha cutouts and make it look. And it's definitely not the best way to do it. I would never do it like this if I was working on a game, but it looks really nice. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it's about, man.
Yeah, I think I struggle with the same thing when it comes to modular sets. Like at some point, I get so limited by the modular set itself that it just limits the way that the assets are gonna look in the end. And
Yeah,
I've always done this in the
the
wrong
variation
kind
you're
of
gonna get.
order. Yeah, yeah. Like I've always made my blocks like super blocky, and they look and feel modular. Whereas you basically need to. That's what I'm trying to find out with this recent scene as well. Like I'm basically modeling a unique house at the moment, and then
And then you're cutting it
afterwards,
up.
yeah, afterwards I'm gonna look into how I can cut it up and like try to get some logical looking pieces out of it so that I
Dude,
can get
yeah,
rid of the modular feel and still have like a good looking building
I
while it
love that.
still offers me like basically the ability to build a city with it if I wanted to. And
I
yeah,
really like that approach. I
yeah,
That's
this
one
this
of
is this is
the.
the first time that I'm doing this. Sorry to interrupt, but it's
I mean, yeah,
like
I'm interrupting you all the time. Don't worry about it. That's kind of what this podcast is at this point.
yeah, should we rename it at some point? But yeah, like this is the first time that I'm doing it in this way, which sounds kind of crazy to me, but it's because I've always been so concerned in the games that I worked on about performance and technical limitations that there's always like this baggage on top of all my thinking already
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
it's
You go
that
in with this
it's
mindset.
yeah, exactly. And it's limiting me from the offset where I'm this is also why I started like a smaller project that I can quickly finish because I don't want to care about those technical limitations anymore.
Yeah,
I just want to have fun with it and get that creative spirit back and just enjoy the process.
yeah, man. Totally. Yeah, it's what you were saying about breaking down the buildings, and then I talk a lot of shit about my university. Um, I wasn't a big fan of most of what I like. I didn't learn that much there. I felt
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but one of the things that was a big takeaway is when we're talking about modularity is you can just take any building. At least like I'd say 90% of buildings. Of course, there's some that is just they're completely unique or whatever. But you
Hmm.
can take that building, put it into Photoshop, and draw like lines where you can cut it and then be like, okay, this is one module for the corner or whatever, and then this is a module with a window, this is one without, this is one with a balcony on it, this is this, and you can cut it down. Even if there's a lot of modules, you can still make a building that's quite unique out of modules. You just have to change, maybe instead of making one floor one module, you can make a 2x2 part of the wall one module or whatever it might be, and you can
Hmm.
break it down, and then you can be like, oh, I could have this trim as part of the module, or I could have this trim separately, and then I can make everything out of less modules by having this as a separate thing, and then I can just add that on top of anything or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can. There's a lot of different ways to think about that kind of stuff, and I like then, and you can already think about how you're going to UV it. You can be like, okay, this part's going to be green. I'm going to do this as a trim on the bottom here or whatever, and I think it's really helpful to like I would always say time you put the time you put into setting up a modular set is like you're gonna save it threefold while working on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. I've been having fun rediscovering how to build modular sets, which sounds pretty ridiculous now that I think of it, but because basically all my scenes had some sort of modularity in it, or like were super optimized from that perspective. But yeah, I don't know. I think I've been holding myself back when it comes to that, and now I just have to flip the tables and just do it in the totally opposite way.
Yeah, I mean the games industry itself, it evolves, so it evolves.
And you
it
give me
is
shit for my language? Come on.
Well, I also give myself shit. Um, it evolves so quickly and so like in such quick like cycles, I guess, that there's always new stuff to discover and new ways to do stuff. And then, of course, yourself, you learn more as you go, so you can put all that new knowledge and you can rethink of the way you've done stuff before and maybe be like, I know I've done this 1,000 times, but maybe I could save this time here or do another approach there. And that's what I like about the games industry as well, is that it's constantly evolving, right?
Yeah, yeah. Did you ever have this feeling where you were trying a new approach, but it felt like you were doing an illegal thing? It sounds really ridiculous now
I
that I
mean,
say
yeah,
it,
I know what you
but
mean.
it's like in the beginning when I joined the industry, like I had this notion like everyone was doing things in the same way, right? And then when I was doing my personal work, I was I think it was Vertex Paint because we weren't using Vertex Paint in our project Planet Coaster back then. And I was like, I went home and I did like a shader setup, and I was using Vertex Paint, and it felt it felt wrong to me because like no one that I knew in the industry back then was doing anything like that, and I was like, am I doing this wrong? Like, is this super imperformant? I didn't know anything.
Yeah, I kind of remember I was kind of late to that whole thing, but still, when I did like a ZBrush Boolean workflow for the first time, I was like,
Oh yeah,
wait, I feel so dirty. Like all this stuff would have been so hard to like model, I guess traditionally, like a sub D modeling way. It would have taken me ages, but this, I just put a cylinder here, put a box there, do a little shape here, fucking boolean it, put it in ZBrush, polish it, and I've got perfect edges. And it's been
yeah.
like that was done on Division One. Like they did all their guns that way, and I did it like 3 years later, but I still felt like, oh, this is cheating. This is too easy.
It's so weird, right? Because I sometimes I don't know if I still feel that these days because like I don't really care about that anymore. But I do remember heavily, like in the beginning when I was just like, oh, I want to try foliage. Like I know that speed tree is good in foliage, but what if I try it in ZBrush and like sculpting it instead? And it's like, oh, it's like you said, I kind of feel dirty about the whole thing, but it's like, it works and it gets good results. So I don't know, for some pieces of foliage, it might really work.
Yeah. And I think that's really important. We talk about being flexible, all that stuff. We talked about it heaps.
Yeah.
But it's just important being like being open to experiment with stuff and be like, hey, this might not work and probably it won't work, but if I do it this way instead of that way, can I save time? Can I make this better? Can I make this more interesting in a way? And maybe it's just more fun to me personally, like if you're working at home, who cares if it takes 50 minutes longer if the workflow is really fun,
Hmm.
it's really cool. And then all that knowledge you'll have later on when your supervisor comes to you and says like, we've got this asset, can you do it? And it's like stuff you've never really done before, or maybe they're asking you, how would you make this? Which workflow would you use for this specific thing? And then you've got all this knowledge, and you can like pick and choose which parts you want to take from where, and you can create your own workflow. Like that's what I found really interesting about working in outsourcing, is that I sat um, next to someone working on. I've always got to be careful with the NDA stuff, but yeah, they were working on Hitman, and I was working on The Walking Dead, and then
Yep.
3 seats over there was someone working on whatever it was, and all these projects had their very own workflow. And then when I start a personal project, I'm like, oh, you know what? I've heard that they do it like this there, and I've been doing it like this. Maybe I could, do like a mix of both of those things, and then create something even quicker
Yep.
or whatever. It's yeah,
Yeah, because like every system also has its flaws, right? And like
yeah,
technical limitations and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting that you can take, like you said, bits and pieces from different workflows, go
yeah,
back home and like tinker with it and try to make it work in like an optimized way.
yeah,
Which yeah, it's really interesting just like like I said before, like going home, tinkering with stuff, and then seeing what the limitations are and why they maybe didn't set it up in this way. Because sometimes
yeah,
you're gonna try it home and it's like, oh, this totally doesn't work.
yeah.
It's so cool, man. I wanna go back to like the limitations and technical aspects of it because I've been playing a lot more games as well,
Right.
and I've been diving deep into AC Origins, like the Egyptian one,
Hmm.
and that game is so stunning. But then if you start breaking down like all the materials and the textures that they use, you can you can kind of get a feel for how optimized and balanced how it all is. Like the textures that they use in that game are, well, they're fantastic first, but like the way that they're applied through the world, there's so much reuse of them in creative ways that it's really stunning to look at,
Hmm.
and it's also such a massive world. I've been really having fun playing through that game.
Cool, man.
Ah,
Yeah,
it's yeah. Go ahead.
uh, I've not been playing as much, to be honest.
Oh shit, we're
Uh,
flipping the tables.
it was that so in Tarkov, there's a thing that you get when you finish all the quests, or not all the quests, but like all the quests except the crazy ones. Like there's a quest to kill one boss 100 times that is just it's like a grind for like streamers to get a cool outfit.
Yeah, yeah.
You get an Adidas tracksuit and a gold chain. So it's kind of a meme thing. You do it 100 times over, which is crazy. It takes ages, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a thing that you get when you do all the quests, and I finished all the quests pretty much, and I got that thing. And since then, I've not been playing as much. I've still been playing from time to time because it's an awesome game, but because my friend also got it, so now we both don't have as big of a goal anymore. Um, so I've been feeling better about doing personal work, which is a lot of my free time I've been spending on that instead of gaming.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I said, right? Is I have these phases where I go through either gaming or doing personal work, and
Hmm.
I've been gaming for a long time now with with the whole Ronies and stuff.
Oh
It's been
yeah.
yeah, it's
You
been a
were
while.
you were really deep into Tarkov.
Oh, dude. I mean, yeah, I still am. I still love it. It's still a great game. And
Yeah, but it's not like 5 in the morning deep. Not
it's
anymore,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like like 2 raids a day maybe if I
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
really want to play.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's always so weird when games do that, right? Like they have, well, I don't think there's a way around it, but it's like the end game, and then you get this thing that you've been fighting for, and then you achieve it, and then your
Yeah.
goal is checked off, and then it's like, okay,
even
um,
even though in this case, for example, what it does is it gives you an advantage in the game. So I'm not really even using the thing that I got, right?
yeah,
But it's yeah. I mean, I like I said, we've got like a little new goal set for us. We want to find a red key card, which is like the rarest item in the game, but it has like specific spawning points. So
yeah,
we
yeah,
just want to go to those places and like just check for it every single raid, because that will mean, because there's obviously a lot of other people that will go to these places. It will just mean that we'll have really a lot of PvP and a lot of cool like fun fights and stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, we're both just we're not in it like, oh yeah, we need to play hours today so we can finish this quest. It's more like, yeah, do you just want to play some want to play some Tarkov, and then yeah, sure, why not.
yeah. Hmm.
It's yeah, it's more laid back, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think when it comes to those games? Like, what do you think the future of those games is going to be? Especially when it comes to, well, in this case, we're talking about shooters, right?
Mm.
So, what do you think the future of those games is going to be?
I mean, Tarkov is very specific because there's not really a lot of games that are out there like this. First of
Yeah,
all, it's very like hardcore and punishing, which of course limits the audience. But then also the way it's set up with like you have these raids and you have like an off. You can take gear in and then you lose it, or you take stuff out.
to
Um,
me, in a way, it feels very old school, right?
yeah, in a way it is, because it doesn't hold your hand like other like more modern games do. Which I mean,
Mm,
holding your hand is not a bad thing at all. Like it can be very nice, but it obviously can also be overbearing. Um, and Tarkov, that's why Tarkov is such It's such a punishing game because you're literally thrown to the world, and no one even tells you how to get out of the map. It tells you, okay, you can press this button, and then it says like, what does it say? For example, like crossroads,
Yeah.
but there's no map, so you can't look at a map and be like, oh, there's a crossroad. I wonder if that's where I can get out. It's just like, yeah, good luck. I, the
Just figure
game
it out.
doesn't you. The game is almost impossible to learn if you don't use the wiki at all
Yeah.
times. So I feel like that the games are probably still going to be like that, and I think the success of Tarkov will show that will like show that maybe sometimes you can take a lot more chances and be a little bit more hardcore, and people are still going to play your game.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I
in
think
like
when it
the
comes to that, yeah, you always have like the mass appeal, big, well, to standardize it. It's like triple A games that want to appeal to as many people as possible, right?
yeah,
And they
because that works, right? It's like,
yeah,
of
and
course
they often
people, yeah,
yeah, go
like
ahead.
the hardcore people are going to be like, oh, this is the same game again. I don't, there's not a lot of innovation. They're being maybe like very careful with the amount of stuff they change,
Yeah.
but that's a very like what would you call it, like a loud minority or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, or a, yeah, there's a specific term for it that I forget. A vocal minority, I think is what they would call it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but because then there's like 80% of like the other like casual gamers, or just like people that are not like very hardcore in the way they play, and they love those games because that's what it's made for, right? It's like a pop song. It's not for everybody, but it's for most people.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because
yeah,
those like the way you explain it that you have to use the wiki for those games. There's
not a lot of people want to do that.
yeah, exactly. But it attracts some people, like especially when we talk about like more punishing games, right? Like Tarkov is one of them in the shooter genre, but then you have Dark Souls, for
Yeah,
example, or like
yeah,
some of the old school MMOs that I played, you couldn't play those games without a wiki.
right.
Like that was just like you would have your game running on one end and then you just a wiki on the other screen, and that was
All
basically
the
how you
time.
play the game.
Yeah,
And it's like, oh, I want to fight this monster. The monster didn't have a level, so you never knew if you were gonna beat it. But it just had like an amount of hit points, an amount of attacks, like specific attacks that it did, and then it's
mm,
just like, well, you're never sure if you were gonna beat it.
yeah. And I mean that's the thing with uh, like it doesn't have to be that kind of threshold or whatever you want to call it of like difficulty or inconvenience. It can also be stuff like in DayZ, everyone was playing DayZ,
Yeah,
but it was only those people who knew that they were gonna be okay with zombies running through walls, having shitty servers, all that stuff, because they knew what they were getting into when they downloaded the mod, and were like, okay, I'm gonna give this a try. It became very big because it was like it started off this whole series of games that are pretty much copying something that DayZ did,
yeah,
um, but or were trying to, let's say. Um, but even though
yeah.
there
Some
was
of them
so
weren't
many
really
like
doing a good
technical,
job.
yeah, even though there was a lot of problems, you would like look beyond that and see the core of the game for how innovative and great it was.
Yeah, yeah. Especially with all the battle royales these days, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
all the games are doing it, and then some games succeed, like Warzone right now, which is
Yeah,
like a
because it
really
because it brought new things again, right? It's
yeah, exactly. Like it's like an incremental innovation or like an incremental
yes,
step on top of the initial innovation where
and I think people are seeing that now, that it's worth it to ride the wave in a certain manner and be like, we're doing what people like, because that's how AAA works. You're putting so much money into a game that you
yeah,
kind of have to be able to expect at least a certain number of sales, right? You can't make that's the thing. I don't know if people know this, or if they're like, maybe they just haven't thought about it, but that's why a lot of big games are very similar, is because it works, and those games are so expensive, and you can't just work on a game for 5 years, put hundreds of millions in it, and then it's very niche and only some people like it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and yeah, but and then you take that base that like a battle royale. I mean, that was when like Fortnite was like the biggest game ever. I mean, it probably still is. I just haven't heard about it as much. Or
Uh-huh.
no, actually now it's Fall Guys and Among Us and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
whatever. Um, so it was the biggest game. So they took the base of that game, but they added to it. They first of all they had different combat because it's Modern Warfare, but then they added having this whole gulag uh, like mechanic where you can
Yeah.
get back and you,
Which
it was
was
like
pretty
they
cool.
yeah
That was a
it's a
good
cool idea.
system.
So yeah they just expanding on what is already known to be like they know it's going to be a hit. It's Modern Warfare and it's battle royale. It's going to be a hit. And then even though there might be a lot of people out there saying, "Ugh, another battle royale," but yeah, that's what people like. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like I think back to when Battle Royale was up and coming, and
yeah,
people were having a debate about is Battle Royale like a new game mode or is it gonna be like a new type of game? Like they were having that
yeah,
kind of discussion. Where some people just literally saw it as like, okay, you have in a shooter game, you have capture the flag, team deathmatch, and then battle royale,
yeah,
that kind of thing. But I think battle royale just like outblew everything that was before it, and now it's just like a whole new set of games.
yeah.
And
And it's
especially what interests me when it comes to Fortnite is from some of the things I've been looking up and some of the research that I've been doing is that it's not just a battle royale. Like
no,
it's a platform for people, like
yeah,
especially the younger generation, right? Like they use it as a platform. That's where they go and hang out with other people, and then
yeah, it's
with
crazy.
yeah, it's crazy, right? Like that was never the case in any of the games that we played. Maybe the closest that would,
Minecraft,
yeah,
Minecraft. They had these
maybe
like community servers and stuff, but yeah.
or WoW or
Oh, I
like
guess
an
wow.
MMO
Yeah,
like that would be like the closest example.
yeah. I mean, and Club Penguin, of course. Um,
Oh, Habbo Hotel. Yeah, we're gonna get all the good names out.
but but yes, I it's really interesting because that wasn't the original idea of Fortnite at all either, right? Like I think game developers knew about Fortnite a lot earlier than anyone else, just because we all have Unreal on our PCs.
Yeah, yeah.
And when Fortnite came out, it was like this. I think there was
Base
originally
defender,
supposed to be
base builder
zombies in
kind
it,
of
right?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was kind of like a 7 days to die kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
how I understood it. But then they were like, oh, and there's also gonna be a free mode, which is gonna be the battle royale, and then this is what everyone cared about.
That was so crazy because I was playing it for the base builder type of game. Like
Mm.
it was really unfinished, unpolished. There was just too much stuff to deal with.
Uh-huh.
And then at some point they were just like, Look, we're just gonna scrap this. Battle Royale's the future, whatever." And
Yeah.
it was amazing how quick that happened with like because
Best
it
move.
wasn't the first game, right? Like it was what is it? Player Unknown Battlegrounds? Was that the first one?
No, I mean the first one. I actually played the first one, which is it's player unknown's battlegrounds, but it was an Arma. What is it? Arma 3 mod.
Oh, true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I think yeah the first like big like standalone game was probably PUBG. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. And then Unreal Engine was just like, let's do this too.
Yeah, let's do this. I mean, best the maybe the best decision ever made in gaming.
Oh Jesus.
I mean,
They're
they
raking in
made
money.
so much money.
It's crazy, man.
It's crazy. It's like Fortnite. Everyone knows about Fortnite.
Yeah.
Everyone who has a kid,
Yeah.
like everyone who has a nephew or a niece or whatever, everyone that like has a 10-year-old somewhere in their vicinity of people that they know knows about Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly. That is
It's
crazy. And
crazy.
the thing that really interests me about it is going back to the platform aspect, right? Like it's not a game. It's like the Facebook for those kind of people, like the people that play it.
Yeah.
And in some way, I feel really disconnected from that because I feel like there's like a whole world opening up, and I'm not aware of anything that's happening in there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not too bothered by it. I don't need to be part of everything.
No, no, no. That but I mean it from like a perspective where it's like it's interesting to me
Mm.
to kind of see it from the outside perspective. Where at some points I just want to I don't know. I don't really want to jump in because then I know that it's just going to be like annoying teenagers.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy that this big of a movement uh is happening and has already happened to a large extent, and that it's turning into this weird kind of thing now with the whole lawsuit aspect, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
Where they're like weaponizing all the people that play Fortnite against Apple and whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
we don't need to
was
go too deep into that, but
yeah.
it's a little wonky.
It's a weird move, but I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see how it'll
Yeah,
all turn
and
out.
this also brings me to like the future of games again, right? Like, do you think more more platforms are going to do that, or like not even like game developers are going to try and build their own platforms? Because I was listening to a podcast yesterday where they kind of mentioned that Xbox and Sony are trying to do that to a certain extent, where they want to keep people on their own platform, own ecosystem, and it's going to be more expansive. Whereas before, if you bought like a console, you would just have the console with the games that were coming out. But now with online being linked to it, backwards compatibility linked to it, like it feels more. It's going more towards like a Netflix kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, you're like constantly tapped into it.
Yeah, it's more like a
It's
subscription service, like especially with Game Pass from Xbox, right? I don't have it
oh,
personally,
hmm. Yeah, I had it for a bit.
but I've just heard that the price versus the value that you get out of it is so crazy at the moment.
Yeah, I got into it because a lot of my like colleagues they wanted to play the pirate game.
Oh, Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted to play that with me, so I was like, where can I buy it? And they were like, just get the Game Pass. And it was $10 a month. And I played Sea of Thieves for like 3 months, and then I played State of Decay 2 for like a while. It was great,
Yeah.
great game. It was really fun. And so I pretty much got these two games, and then I canceled it after 4 or 5 months. So I
Uh
pretty
huh.
much paid $50 for two games, which is a great deal. I mean, of course, now I can't go back and be like, oh, I want to play a little bit of State of Decay or what is it? State of Decay. I always say that title wrong.
State
Um,
of Decay.
State of Decay. Hello. I don't know why I say it like that. Yeah, State of Decay, and I can't go back and play Sea of Thieves, but I'm done with them for now. So who cares?
Yeah, that that is a good point actually, because that feels a little bit weird to me, right? When we're the generation that came up with like having boxed editions. Like if you buy a
Yeah.
game, you buy a box with like a CD in it, and you would have to install it from the disc. And I don't know if it's still like sentimental about it, or I still like having the physical editions there,
Yeah, it's
especially
nice.
for the bigger games, right? Like I still like splashing out on like say I'm waiting for a game for like ages and then it comes out, I'll probably buy the special edition. Just be like, look,
If it's like a yeah, if it's like something that's meaningful to you or whatever.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of weird that they can just like, oh, subscription is over. You don't have access to these games anymore.
Yeah, but I mean that's I guess that's the thing, right? You're that's why I mean that's the way that they make money because then you'll be like, oh, actually, I still want to keep playing this game, so I'm gonna keep being subscribed. But I
Yeah.
guess it really depends on how much you play. Like I think I probably got my just like I like barely broke even, right? I played two games for a couple months, paid $50, but I can't play them anymore. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
fair. But then if I would be the kind of guy that plays like if I didn't have
Eight
a
hours
full
a
time
day or
job, yeah,
whatever.
if I just played
Yeah.
so much and then I played all types of different games, because I pretty much just played two games, but there's like tons more, right? I could have also played, I don't know what's on there, probably some Halo because it's Xbox. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever it is,
Forza
right?
and all that stuff must be on there too, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be. But yeah, so I would have been able to play probably a lot of racing games like Forza. That's all Microsoft now. Um, Tens more games at least, and I would have like saved in quotes a lot of more money, right? Because I would have had to buy these games otherwise. But yeah, it's just that's not how I work. I can't. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not for me, that type of like playing all the different games at the same time.
Uh huh.
Um, but but yeah, like I think it's like, I don't know. I'm not trying to advertise them, but I think it's, if you're playing it a little bit and you want to try out some games, just do it for a month and then just yeah, see if you want to keep doing it, I guess.
Yeah, I'll see if we can get an affiliate link for that.
Please, Microsoft, please. Yeah. No,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
it is
yeah.
kind of weird, like the whole aspect where that is obviously the future, right? It's gonna happen more and more, and eventually disc copies are gonna go away. Especially when you look at the consoles now, where you
Have a digital version.
yeah, exactly. Like it's only gonna be more and more embedded, which also kind of makes sense because like the whole distribution pipeline, like that's just adding stuff. Like why is that still there?
Adding to the price as well.
Yeah,
Another
exactly.
game. So now you can make bigger games, sell them for the same price, but there's no change of price to the user.
Yeah.
Which yeah,
Oh yeah, that's also going to be interesting because some publishers already announced that they're going to be pushing up the prices in the next gen.
yeah. Which I mean, I know that this is a divisive topic. I just feel like you've gotta expect that games are gonna be getting more expensive. Just because we were talking about this earlier. Just compare Red Dead Redemption 1 to Red Dead Redemption 2, or like that's an extreme example because that was also like, it's not like a Battlefield where, or like a COD where there's one every year or every other year.
Yeah.
Um, so it's obviously a lot more time that it took, but that means that they've also had to pay these people for 5 years instead of paying them for 2 years. But the game pretty much cost the same as a COD, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's so expensive. Like games are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I know microtransactions, if they're done really badly, then they're annoying and just feel like exploitative, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, if you just look at the scope of games, the way they changed, the way there's thousands of people working on these games, and they've all got to get paid. They've all got to feed their families and pay rent and stuff.
Yeah.
And and yeah, and it's not even that it's just more people; it's also way longer. So if you look at, if you multiply it by whatever that is, just the scope of the games is getting crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And this also makes me think about how from like a developer standpoint, this is going to grow into the future because we've seen like a lot of growth in a lot of studios, right? Like they're hiring crazy amount of people just to build these open world games. And I was listening to like a breakdown from the world directors on AC Origins yesterday, and they
Mm-hmm.
were talking about like I don't know 10 different studios working on like one game, with every studio having their own discipline or like expertise on what they could bring to the project, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what you can see how um, outsourcing is getting crazier and crazier too, right? Because there's
Yeah,
not there's not enough people in the studios.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that makes me wonder how this is gonna grow on like a technical aspect from our side, where uh there's a lot more. There's already a fair bit of reliance on procedural generation of content.
Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't be possible. Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. So I wonder how much they're gonna drive that forward and just rely more and more on procedural content. Where right now we only, as far as my knowledge, like we only see it in the procedural generations of the world, where
most, yeah.
That's like the biggest known aspect of it,
And
right?
then like characters, maybe like if you have like a lot of NPCs in a city, they'll be, they'll be like randomized to look different or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But what if this starts trickling into narrative? And what if this starts trickling into like the actual world building aspects of it, where you could have like in a normal procedural system, right? You would have set parameters where it like balances between. What if you can apply that to the narrative storyline, where it's like now every choice is kind of laid out before you. But what if you get like unexpected reactions from NPCs where you have to react on again, and then you create like divergent storylines or whatever?
Yeah, because what you're saying is right now, if a game advertises itself as having different choices, is what they're saying that they've thought of a couple of choices and they've
Yeah,
scripted a response.
yeah. It's
Uh,
like pre-built
yeah,
into the system. It's like a giant database of questions and answers, basically.
yeah, and
Well, it's
how
an
that will,
oversimplified
yeah,
view,
how that
right? But
will affect the world and the story and the people and
yeah,
whatever. But yeah, you're right. That's a good idea. If I mean, or it's a good point that potentially that could be a huge breakthrough if we start getting. I mean, it's gonna just make everything more immersive, and it's gonna save a lot of people a lot of time.
yeah,
I wanna just add that, by the way, that obviously when I say stuff's getting bigger and bigger and it's just adding more people, that's a big factor why stuff, is like why it should be more expensive. But then, or whatever the main point of that is, but then also stuff like our technical advancements are also they make it possible that the games are getting so much bigger
yeah,
without having like it would be tens of thousands of people working on games if we didn't have uh procedural generation and just stuff getting faster, like being done faster, having like great tools like Substance Painter and Designer, right? That
hmm
would be, if that wasn't there, then prices of games would be way higher by now as well. But that's like
yeah.
another factor keeping the scope high and the man hours like comparatively low, I guess.
hmm I wonder if there's ever going to be a peak of like, look, this is the ideal size of a world, which I don't think there's going to be. But like if there is a peak of like this is the amount of people that we need, but now procedural techniques and AI driven systems are going to be advancing so quickly that the teams are going to get smaller at some point.
I mean, that would be great. Um, because less people involved will probably make the whole process smoother.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there,
but
there
I
there
mean,
have been there have been some advancements in what is it, like Prometheus AI. I don't know if
oh,
I
like the
talked to you
set
about
dressing,
that.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Where if you could use that in games where you have, again, procedural systems, you set like the boundaries of where the system can generate into, right? And then the only thing that a level artist would do at that point is just like look at the generation that it spits out, clean it up a bit, and then add and their own story driven by the narrative on top of that.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I to be honest, what I think is that it's not going to do what you were saying, like to like stall at some point, and will mean that teams will get smaller again. I
Yeah,
think what it means is that it's going to kind of work like it has before, that these technical advancements will not mean, oh, we need less people now to achieve our goal. It will just mean we can add more stuff.
bigger games. Yeah,
Yeah. And be
yeah,
like,
I
then
totally
every
agree. By
game
the
is
way,
going to have uh, horses balls shrinking in the winter, like every game is going to have all these details because they're not going to be as hard to achieve because they're built in with these systems.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that because that's how it's worked so far, right? Teams, when Substance was starting getting used, it wasn't that they were like, oh, we're laying off. Everyone was like, oh, we're laying off half of our texture artists. No, it just meant that we can make more cool, unique textures and interesting, like have stuff look more interesting and detailed, right?
yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially when it comes to open world games, right? Like
Yeah.
they are designed to keep you in that ecosystem and playing that game and just exploring that world for as long as possible. So yeah, I think I think it's like you said. The games are going to be bigger. They're going to be more alive, quote unquote, better,
Yeah,
and yeah, they're
and we
going
hopefully won't lose our jobs to AI.
to. Yeah, I think that just comes down to what you said previously, right? Like technical advancements just mean more jobs. It might just mean that we're doing different jobs in the future,
Yeah,
or
I
that
mean
a
that's
lot of the
also the
stuff that
thing
we're
with
doing now is could be described as quite menial. So they could be like perfect for an AI to pick it up and then just
yeah.
solve that for us.
But that just means that then all these people that were doing the like the menial repetitive tasks will just be doing the more creative stuff
Yeah.
and like managing the procedural systems beneath it, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I was also listening to this talk about Breath of the Wild and how they designed their world and why it feels so alive. And I think that's also a thing we're gonna see in a lot of games and is also somewhat present in other games. But it's the idea of having a world that's reactive, where the elements react on stuff that's working in the world. Like a simple example is like, oh, you have a campfire, but it's raining. The campfire is not gonna light.
Right. Yeah.
That kind of stuff, right? And in Breath of the Wild, like if you're carrying metal weapons and there's like a thunderstorm, like you're gonna get struck by a lightning unless you put them away. And there's also like examples where you can cut down trees, I think, and then those logs can drift in the water, and you can use them as a boat to cross the river.
That's cool.
So there's a lot of that reactive stuff that's already in those games, and I think that is one big thing that we're hopefully gonna see in the future, where there's gonna be more reactivity, more opportunity for like these self-made stories
Mm.
of like, oh man, I encountered this thing, but then this tree fell down and it created like this thing, and then I trapped him underneath the tree or whatever. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it could be like a living world where you're not restricted to just shooting, but it could be using the entire environment against the people that are hunting you or your enemies or whatever.
I would even say you're not limited by what the developers thought of.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the thing, right? Like there's rocks you can push onto guys in Breath of the Wild. But yeah, that's because some guy thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had rocks and then you could push them?
Yeah.
But then
Exactly.
later in the game, I don't know. Like that's the thing. I'm thinking of it, so it wouldn't even be limited by that. But let's say you find a shovel somewhere and you can pick it up and you can dig out a hole and then have someone fall in it, right? Or
Yeah.
like create a landslide onto some people, or like you get a tuba from somewhere and you blow in it and then it starts an avalanche and you bury the enemies under snow, right? What crazy stuff. But just because that's how everything is set up systemically and it can like everything reacts in a realistic manner or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I need to talk about a specific example of like reactive game design
Hmm.
or reactive environment design even. It just blew my mind. And that's Dishonored 2. This is gonna be spoilers for like the last, or like I think that the level before the last level in Dishonored 2. I'm not gonna give spoilers about the story, but just what happens. So, you know, just in case. Um, so there you go to a mansion and you have this I forget what it's called. It's like a time I think it's called the time mirror or something like that. The
Oh yeah.
magic
Yeah.
mirror.
Yeah.
And you look through this shard of the mirror and it pretty much is an overlay of this. They built the same level twice, or I think actually 3 times. Um, and you look into the other version through that mirror and you can like switch from one version to the other. It's so cool. And the way it works is there's like riddles that obviously are pre-scripted and like some game designer thought of how this would work. But it would be something like you are walking around in like the old version of the mansion, and there's a dead dog, and it there's a there's a note next to it that says, "Oh, this dog is infected with these kind of flies. We need to burn his body, or he's gonna, like be infected, and these flies are gonna be all over the place." And
Hmm.
then in the but you see that because you're walking around in the now version of the mansion, and there's these huge like fly nests in Dishonored, and there's a nest right in front of you that's blocking you from going through a door. And so then you could travel back in time, take the dead dog, and put him into an oven to get rid of him. And then you switch back to the now version, and now there's no fly nest there, and you can go
Oh
through the door.
shit, that's cool. It's
Yeah,
like
and
the
there's like
past is directly affecting, well, the future in that case.
yes, yeah, and there's a
Yeah.
couple of things that happen like that. Like there's like something that broke because like the wall wasn't reinforced or whatever it is, and that's why something like a balcony broke down and you can't get up. And then you can go like into the past and like I don't know, fix the thing, and then it's also fixed in the future, and you can just jump on the balcony. I don't remember how exactly it was, but there's stuff like that all over the place, and it literally blew my mind. And then after you kill a guy, it also changes the future. Then, like if you kill someone in the past, then it's
Oh
crazy, man.
jeez. Yeah,
Like
that's
you
awesome.
assassinate a guy, and then suddenly like you go back to the real time, and then all these like people appear because the guy died. So all his people left the mansion, and then some new guy bought the mansion, and it's like another person, and they have like there's like all these bodyguards around. Whatever, I don't remember, like I said, but it's imagine that, but like I said, not limited by anyone's thoughts, just
Yeah.
by saying, okay, when I kick this guy, uh, maybe fucking someday there's gonna like when he sees me again, like let's say in GTA, right? You can just punch people. So yeah, so you punch a guy, and then maybe if he ever runs across you again, he'll be like, dude, aren't you that guy? Fucking, and then he's with his brother, and then his brother just comes and they both beat you up.
Yeah.
And it's not a scripted thing that someone thought of and then put it in. It's just something that happens.
Yeah, it's like an organic reaction.
Or yeah, that would be so cool. I mean, that's just a super basic example, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That would
but
be that would be awesome. Like I keep thinking about when I'm playing Origins, right?
no,
Like I keep thinking about the same concept. Like what if you have um like say Greece, for example, and you have multiple timelines where you can switch through
hmm,
and just see like stuff happening in real time where if you um say like you said, like you punch this guy or you desecrate a statue of a goddess or whatever, and then the whole thing changes, but on
yeah,
like a world scale. Just
that would be
imagine
crazy. Yeah.
imagine the potential of that.
The only
Where
thing that I can think of that would make this really hard is, to be honest, is like voice lines.
I mean,
But I
it's
guess,
also voice lines, and like the asset production would also be hell, right? Like, because then you
yeah,
need to
of
account
course.
for like all the different directions like the world could basically go into.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. But yeah, I've seen. I think I told this before, but like in Guild Wars 2, they did some pretty interesting stuff where they had like a collapsed area in the city, and they slowly rebuilt it over time. And it was this moment of like, shit, this is like a living world. Like people are building this thing right in front of me. Like the one week you would log in, scaffolding was going up. Second week you would log in, like it was like they were pulling up a tent across the entire structure. Third
Wow.
week, like the tent was getting like a nice shape. You could actually see the silhouette of the thing. And it was just fun to see that being built in quote unquote real time, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I
That's really
think,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, like if you can just expand upon that and just Man, there's so much opportunity for that. But it's also, like you said, it's super intensive. Like you said, on the voice lines, like the asset production, just like the world design itself. Because say you desecrate a statue of this goddess that this temple was dedicated to on this hill, maybe someone else like completely dug out that hill at some point and built like an aqueduct over it or whatever. Like just thinking about that and
Yeah,
trying to
I
think
mean,
about it in
that's
like technical limitations, and like my brain is fucking going crazy. But
yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? That's what exactly what we're talking about. There won't be any limitations. I mean,
yes, yeah,
obviously, we're talking about the the far future, um, but yeah, in an ideal world where they would figure out a way how to exactly do that, that's how it would be. It would be limitless. So that would
yeah.
be fun. It's so cool.
What if it would regenerate worlds on the fly? Where say, I don't know, say you travel between times, right? And there's like a giant concrete dam in the past, and you get the opportunity to destroy it. And then according to that destruction, like I don't know, 100 years into the future, it would kind of regenerate that patch of the landscape to be like affected by water.
Oh
And
my
how
god.
fuck, man, there's so much cool opportunities in that, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it doesn't even have to necessarily be with the whole time travel aspect. It would just be, but what if you destroyed something in a game like Just Cause, right? You destroy so much in
Yeah,
Just Cause, and then you destroy the building, and then when you play the next time, you drive in that area, and uh there's like scaffolding going up, and they're fixing the building or whatever, right? I mean, that's a really cool thing they did in Red Dead Redemption, where when you shot a shopkeeper, the next time you go into that shop, he's got like a bandage on where you
yeah,
shot him. But again, that's handmade, hard coded, or at least I assume so, but I don't know how else they would have done it. So
yeah,
let's just say that it's completely hard coded. So if that stuff starts, like if there's like these systems of like a society that's actually alive and that's taking care of stuff that happens or whatever
yeah,
in the world that reacts to your actions, I mean, that would be amazing.
yeah, man. Like if you just look at it from like a historical perspective, like say you take part in like a big war that basically, I don't know, like I'm not that big into history myself, but like say it's like a big war that affected like the fall of the Roman Empire or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like one person that did like a hitman mission to kill like the general from the opposing army, and
Mm.
then that war completely failed from their side, and now the Roman Empire is still like thriving these days. Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, like then you move back in time and it's like Wolfenstein, like where like an alternate history
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man,
I mean,
that would be crazy.
this if you just had like a playground of the whole world, and like it's not even really a game, it's more just like a yeah, like a playground where you can just be like, you can choose a date. It's like a virtual time machine. You can choose a
Yeah, it's
date
like the
and
ultimate sandbox, right?
yeah, you can go and like I don't know. Imagine that'd be so crazy if you would be like you go to the day where Kennedy was shot, and then you stop Oswald from shooting him, and
Yeah.
then you move back into today and like see how that changed the world. That'd
God.
be crazy.
Oh man. How
Yeah.
how would you
How long do you think it'll take until we have that? I think it's like a couple hundred years probably.
I don't think so, man.
Nah,
Like what
yeah, it's not gonna be that long, but yeah, it's. I
I
think
think I think
until
we're
like.
closer to it than we already think. It's this weird thing where I watched like a little bit of like a GDC session where people were already talking about like procedural narratives and all that stuff. It's just, and I've already seen AI driven asset production too. So I don't know, give it like 10, 15 years maybe, and
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends what we expect, right? If we're just talking about procedural narratives, then yeah, it's going to be a lot earlier. But
Yeah. If we expect like the whole world to be reactive on like multiple timelines, and basically everyone that plays it gets like their own timeline, yeah, that might take a while.
maybe let's wait for that one a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's I think it's a really interesting thing to think about, just because it's something that you almost can't understand, because that's the point, right? It's not human made in a way.
Yeah.
It's just systems set up by humans that are then being like they're developing themselves and stuff. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like going back 10 years. What was the game that we were playing 10 years?
10 years
Uh,
ago, 2010. What was I playing?
I don't even know.
Probably Minecraft.
Yeah, probably like the earliest version of Minecraft.
Yeah.
But then
I mean, that's a
imagine,
bad example because that was very innovative in itself.
yeah, exactly. I
But
was just about to say the same. But like say uh what would be a good example? Like say you're playing Guild Wars 1 or whenever that came out. And
uh-huh.
then someone was to tell you that you can play like an RPG where you can basically recruit and control everyone in the world.
Right.
That's pretty crazy, right? And that's what
That's
Watch
true.
Dogs is doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. And I mean, yeah, I think when did Red Dead Redemption 1 come out? I think it was around 2011. Oh,
Oh, that could
2011.
be.
That was when Skyrim came out, for example. I mean,
Oh
just
shit.
if you compared Skyrim to Red Dead Redemption 2, it's a similar type of game. Obviously, the setting is completely different, but I would say in a way it's similar.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no one would believe you of the, and then yeah, obviously there's outliers that haven't. I think like for example the comparison of what Bethesda's doing or has been doing now to then maybe hmm, not that great.
Well,
Fallout 76 and all
apparently
that.
the new Fallout 76 is actually quite good to play
Oh, really?
because I know that I've been giving it shit for like the longest time, right?
I
But
mean, everyone has.
yeah, but I've heard that it's actually a quite good game to play now. So I'm interested of trying it again and just seeing what they updated to make it good and just compare it to my initial impressions.
Yeah.
That would
I'm
be
just
interesting.
yeah, I'm still holding out for the next Elder Scrolls. I was thinking about Elder Scrolls 6, and that's when I realized how much I'm like if you look about if you look about if you look at the jump between Oblivion and Skyrim, if they do a similar jump between Skyrim and the next one, oh my
Oof.
goodness! Like
Well,
if
it has to be, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
It can't be anything less.
Yeah, let's hope so, man. I mean, just that pure like if I thought I had another game coming that was like a Red Dead Redemption 2, just like by the scope and the interactive environment and stuff
Hmm.
in an Elder Scrolls universe, oh my goodness, that'd be sick.
Oh man, I love that stuff. I am looking forward to that game though.
To Elder
And
Scrolls?
yeah, like the new one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And apparently, there was, this was like a tiny bit of news, like last week, I think, that they're working. I think it was Bethesda Studio specifically that are working on like a new IP.
The Star.
No, not that one because that's already announced, right? So this is like a
Yeah.
new unannounced IP with a new game engine.
Oh, finally.
So that is a thing that I was like, oh, this could be interesting. I'm keeping my eye out for that because Starfield is still the creation engine, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, still the same engine. Yeah, I'm looking forward to those games, man. There's just something about like open world games, and especially like you said, Skyrim is such a good game, man.
It is, yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't play it nowadays anymore just because first of all I've played it a couple of times, and then it's I think by now it will probably feel a bit dated,
Yeah.
even though I
Uh,
think it will still play well.
Yeah, unless you install like a bunch of mods, right? Because that's what a lot of people do, and they
Yeah.
basically make it look like a recent day thing that came out.
Yeah, but I'm not even just talking about graphics. I think even though it was so ahead of its time, I think by now it will be, especially if you've played something like Red Dead Redemption, it will feel a little bit limited. I
Oh,
mean,
you mean in terms of
obviously,
gameplay?
yeah,
Yeah,
obviously it
yeah,
will. But yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk. I think it's going to be really cool.
yeah.
Just
Me
because
too,
I
man.
think they're going to push the limits on what's possible. I really hope so, at least. And
I think so too.
it should. I think it's going to look pretty. Not look. I think it's going to play really interesting. Really, yeah. Just like exploring a new place, just the way that you explored Skyrim. It's like finding out a lot about the world and
Oh
all
God,
this
I
stuff
love
you can
that
do.
stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
Because that's the thing, right? Like if you play a game like that, the initial days of just playing a game like that is just thinking about that game constantly.
Yeah,
Just being like thinking about like the links between like, well, in this case all the corporations, and like, oh my God, I can't wait to explore this thing tomorrow. And just, yeah, there's
yeah.
such a, I feel like a child in a candy store when like an open world game comes out like that.
Totally. And I used to be like when Skyrim was about to come out. I watched all the videos and everything about it, but
Yeah.
just I don't know. I think about games so much, and I think about the games I play, and I think about the games I make. So I don't want to think about the games that I'm gonna play.
You don't
So
have any bandwidth anymore for games.
yeah, so I've people ask me, oh, have I seen this gameplay? No, I haven't. I
Yeah.
want to experience everything for myself. And that's the thing. I'm pretty much gonna play it blind, and I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah,
happy that they delayed it. Well, I'm not happy that they delayed it, but I'm happy that if there was a need to delay it, that they made the decision.
yeah, yeah. Because, yeah, from a developer's perspective, it's always two ways, right? Especially because we know that that studio is crunching heavily, so that's why it's probably two ways. Because, yeah, well, it's two ways in multiple ways, where it's like, oh, we have to wait longer for the game, but also the people working on it, they're gonna be crunching for longer, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
But yeah, it's. I think it's going to be really, really amazing.
I mean,
Like,
I'm already liking it from the bits that I've seen.
yeah.
I'm the same like you. I don't really watch too much gameplay of it because I don't want to spoil it. But I've listened to some background narrative where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, this is how this company came up, and like the basically just some of the background on like different corporations, which is pretty
Hmm.
interesting as well.
Yeah, I don't. It's not even about spoilers for me. It's just about like having that first
Yeah,
interaction with stuff that I really like. It's like I would pay money to be able to play Daisy for the first time again.
yeah. It's like, this is gonna sound weird probably, but it's like buying a game that's still wrapped in plastic. Like I wouldn't buy that game if it wasn't wrapped in plastic, because I want to be the person that opens it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that is what it is. Um, it's just that, oh man, I remember when I had to wait until Christmas for Skyrim because it came out in November, the
Yeah, yeah.
11th of November in 2011. Jesus, um, and I got it for Christmas, and I remember I couldn't download it on the night, so I couldn't play it that night.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I had it running overnight, and I woke up at like 5:30 and the game was done, and I went into
Oh
that
man,
first dungeon, and it was just the best.
that game is so good. That's exactly what. Sometimes I miss that kind of feeling where, and I think Cyberpunk might do that, get that feeling back a little bit.
I hope so.
But there's something about that feeling when you've been waiting for this like for so long, and you got barely any information, but you're still so hyped and looking forward to it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's finally here. Let's play it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Should we round it off with like a quick question at the end here?
Yeah, sure. Hit me.
because this has been a pretty long podcast. Been a good one.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've been talking about too, right? Is we want to keep the quality high, and that's why we decided to like that's one of the reasons why we decided to do it every 2 weeks now,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
we could have
Exactly.
more stuff to talk about and do like just explore them a bit more thoroughly, I guess, and like not and also make sure that we're more interested in the things we talk about because there's less stuff watering it down.
Yeah.
Um, but it also means that we can talk about stuff for a little bit longer and maybe make the episodes a little bit longer for you guys.
Hmm. Yeah. Exactly. And also just allow us to do a little bit more research as well, which has been really helpful from my side. So I mean, for the both of us, right?
Yeah,
When we can actually talk about stuff and be like, oh, look, I saw this in this presentation.
yeah,
And it's also interesting from my side where I actually take the time to look into some research and like look at some GDC talks and all that stuff.
hmm,
So yeah, exactly like you said, we're here to bring more value, and that's why, uh, well, value and fun, right?
yeah, man.
We need to have fun in it. All right, so let's have a look at the questions. We got one from Lloyd, and he asked, "Do you think collaborating with other artists for personal work should/could become a more common thing in order to achieve the higher quality bar?"
I feel like we've talked about this before.
Didn't we? I'm confused right now. I might have talked to some other people about this yesterday evening, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is already happening, and
Yeah,
sometimes I'm surprised that people aren't making use of it more. Whereas, for example, as an environment artist, you don't know that much about lighting, even though lighting is such a big and important part of your project. Where you can just be like, look, I only want to focus on the composition, the creation of the assets, and then maybe I have a good buddy of mine, which is like a really good lighting artist, and just give them that scene, and then
yeah.
just credit them when you post it on ArtStation.
I think that's a good way to do it. I think there's also bad ways to do it. I think it can if there's two environment artists working on a bigger project,
Yeah.
I think it can be messy, just because you're gonna have to do like a breakdown of who did what, especially if you want to use it to apply somewhere. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're just doing it like because that's what you want to do, then yeah, it could totally be fun. Like if you and I did an environment together, and we don't need it to apply somewhere, we just want to make a really cool project together. I think
Hmm.
that could work. Even though then for me personally, I don't think I'd be interested, just because I don't want to deal with version control and
Yeah. Yeah.
like the all the stuff that is needed for collaboration. We all have all that at work. I don't want to do that at home.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. I think I'm
so
the same
yeah.
way because it's like that's why I think the collaboration between an environment artist and a lighting artist works because it's like a handoff.
Yes, yeah, and it's to even though it's part of the same discipline, it's still at least at work for the most part, it's a separate issue,
Yeah.
lighting and environment, and yeah, and that's the thing. People have just environments on their portfolio. Of course, there's lighting in them, but you know, it's a lot of the time it's very basic lighting.
Hmm.
And then you have people that take these scenes, lighting artists that take these scenes and are like, "Hey guys, I did a relighting of this," and that's what someone needs as a lighting artist portfolio, because you don't want to like quote unquote waste your time making an environment just to light it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is probably the best example I could think of. Um,
Yeah, because with
is
other
lighting
disciplines
artist.
it gets quite muddy, right? Because
Yeah.
like I'm jumping to an environment artist, like just a modeler, and then a texture artist.
Yeah.
That can still work, but as a student, I'm kind of expecting as you're yeah, like you're applying for an environment artist role, I kind of want to see you make your own textures as well.
Yeah.
Even though if we're going to be honest about it, in the industry itself, that's probably not going to work like that anyway. It's
Depends on what. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like in most cases, um you're not going to do that, or pick from like a library of materials, and then basically maybe be responsible for the blending between them or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, you've got to find these specific like combos of people that could work together and still have their separate thing. Like, let's just say a weapon artist and an animator. I think that's a good collaboration as well, because
Yeah,
one does the gun and the other guy does the reload animations and all that stuff. And I mean, that's also the kind of stuff that you would usually see on ArtStation. Like, that's one of the few collaborations that you would actually see. Then what could maybe work is like a character artist and weapon artist, or with environment if you have a character sitting around an environment,
yeah,
um, or like, I don't know, dead bodies on the floor. But but yeah, I think also with the addition of stuff like mega scans and like libraries of stuff, I think that's maybe why there won't be as many collaborations as well. Because if I can't do a character, I'll just get one. I'll just buy
yeah.
one and put it in my scene. But
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah,
I think the example from a weapon artist and an animator is a really good one, because I think it's an even better example than the environment artist and lighting artist, or it might be the same. Depends on how you look at it. But you make this really awesome weapon, and then you let someone else animate it, which is basically gonna improve
yeah,
upon the stuff that you already did.
yeah.
So it's not
And it
gonna.
shows off the stuff that you did. Because if you're not going to animate it, you're not going to see all the interior parts that you may or may not have done. Right?
Yes, exactly. And like if you just look at it from um like a how would you call it even? Like if you just look at the thumbnails, or if you just look at the presentation of it, like moving stuff always does better than
Of course.
um
Yeah, it's more
just still
interesting.
images.
Yeah,
I mean, just thinking about it, just having like a really nice gun is awesome. But if
yeah,
you have like the reload animation playing and there's like bullet casings flying out, like that's that's like a step beyond what you would expect.
yeah. And that will show that is actually helpful for an employer, because, or to get employed, I guess, because you can show that, hey, I can make a weapon that's ready to be animated.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I
very
think
good
that's
point.
exactly what it is, right? Is what is going to help you and what isn't. And then the animator guy, you don't want to show off stick figures animated. You need some kind of character model. I mean, I guess that's another collaboration that would work, right? Character artist and an animator. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, so it's kind of like a, hey, I need someone to make my gun look cool by animating it, and the other guy's like, oh, I need something to animate to show off my animation skills. So in a way, yeah, like you said, that might be one of the better examples, just because it's very separate in a way, but it both of, like, it's kind of not needed, but yeah, it enhances the other person's work in a meaningful way.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And just to come back to the question, like, because Lloyd specifically asked, should, and that's a pretty interesting one, because
Yeah,
it depends on the kind of person you are. Because I know that I basically was never really interested in doing collaborations because I was burned out by them in the past,
yeah.
and I was always like, I want to keep control of all the stuff that I'm doing, and then I'll figure out ways how I can do a shortcut to lighting. For example, I did the same as you, but then basically for lighting, I bought myself a lighting setup in Unreal
Oh,
so that I can just throw
interesting.
that in. It has like really easy controls. You just have to set it up with your lights that you already have in your scene, and you're good to go. So
Right.
that's basically how I took that shortcut.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would be, yeah, it's so I would say, to the question, should you? I think you should do whatever the fuck you want. If
Yep.
you want to do it, if you've got a good friend and you really want to do something with them, do it, because that's gonna mean you're gonna be like, have more fun with it, if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, for my personal answer is I would stay away from it, just because just because it adds a lot of stuff that you might have to deal with that you otherwise wouldn't have. And also for me, it's I mean it sounds kind of stupid, but I just want to do whatever I want. I
Yes.
don't like
Yeah.
I get feedback on my stuff every day at work, or maybe not if it's a good day. Um, but um, no, it's like, and there's technical limitations, there's artistic vision behind it, and that's for me personal work is where I can let all that stuff just you know
You can
fall
just
off,
let go and let
let it
loose.
go. Yeah, and I just do whatever I want to do. I can change my plan in the middle, and no one is going to be like, "What? Oh man, now we're going to have to redo this." The only person that's going to be like that is you, but you know why you're doing it
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you want to do
exactly.
it. So it's yeah, it's a hard. I don't know. For me personally, it's not a hard question, but I guess yeah, if you really feel like you want to do it, then it might be a hard decision to make. But I
Yeah.
guess just try it out, see how it goes, and if you see that it doesn't work, then well,
Yeah. This is pretty interesting, right? Because at the same time that we're talking about this, we're doing uh team
uh,
challenges in the Beyond Extend community.
right, yeah. I
So
mean,
it's pretty interesting to see it come together
so
in two
yeah.
separate ways basically.
So I think it's also interesting to think about because it can go either way for a future employer, um, for a potential future employer to have a collaboration because it could either mean this guy or girl, whatever,
Mhm.
this person has thought about or like they know how collaboration works, which is very important at
Yes. Yeah.
at a job. So they have not only thought about it, but they have seeked it out and they said, "Hey, I want to put some time into learning this and seeing
Yeah.
how it works." Um, but then also it could mean if you don't do it right, it could be like, "Oh, but wait, what did this guy actually do? I don't
Mhm.
know." It's because it can muddy the waters, and they won't be sure if what you're showing off is actually what you did or what someone else did.
Yeah.
And
It's
yeah,
also different, right? Like when we talk about these team challenges for example, that's with like a couple of people, so like 5 to 6 people that you're working on like one specific project. Whereas if you just work with another person and that person doesn't want to do it anymore, like you're left by yourself. If one person just falls out of that team challenge, like there's still other people that can pick up the slack, so to say. So yeah, that's why I'm the same as you when it comes to that. Basically, I never really liked working with other people because I just wanted to do what the fuck I want to do.
yeah, because I mean that's also the thing. Other people might not have the chance to work with other people on a daily basis like we do,
Yeah.
so they're looking for this challenge and uh, this opportunity to learn how it is, or like just being able, like because usually you have to cut your scope down a lot when you're just working on something by yourself,
Yeah.
but you'll be able to be part of creating a bigger world, and that might not be as interesting to Tim and me, just because, well, we do that at work.
Hmm.
But if you don't have that opportunity usually, then I think it can definitely be a great experience to say, hey, we're making a whole part of a city because we're all working together and we're making this really cool thing and it's going to be amazing and it's going to have my name on it. You know, not
Hmm.
just my name, but my name as well.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah,
And I think that's why I'm also really curious about the outcome and what I've seen from the challenges now is yeah, there's some really cool stuff coming out because what we did is we had like a super small scope set out from the beginning. But then you're seeing already what you just said is like I think with this amount of people, we can go for something bigger. And that's what they're really doing. Like they're taking that challenge and just expanding it on what they see fit for their team, which is so awesome, man.
yeah, just
Um,
making it their own.
hell yeah, yeah. I'm loving what I'm seeing from these challenges. Uh, yeah. So that might be a good segue if you wanna join some of these challenges or you wanna keep in contact with us. You can always have access through our Discord community, which you can access through Patreon, Beyond Extend. So Patreon/BeyondExtend. That's where you can find us if you want to have access yourself. And yeah, I think with that, that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. Thanks for joining, man.
Thank you for having me, and thank you guys for
And
listening.
yeah, exactly. Thanks everyone for listening. Catch you in the next one.
Bye bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you did, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share it with your friends. If you're an environment artist trying to break into the industry, or just looking to grow your skills, you can find a ton more resources like weekly tips, blog posts, and more on beyondextend.com. But that's going to do it from our side. Thanks so much for joining us, and a shout out to all of our Patreon supporters who made this possible.